So we're all standing on the shoulders of giants. None of us got here by ourselves. You know, lots of people did lots of things. You know, my mother and my father raised me. I didn't raise myself. They raised me. And their parents before them raised them. You know, for the past few weeks, months, whatever, I've been thinking a lot about my great aunt, Aunt Lena. We would call her Lena. Anyway, she was 103 when she died. She only stayed with us. It was like during the summer of 1975. She was born in 1872, and Grant was president. And the country was still recovering from the Civil War. You know, here's a woman who lived 103 years, and I think about that. You know, I don't look back at the past and say everybody who lived in the past was stupid or dumb or, you know, somehow we're superior because we have iPods and computers and this, that, and the other thing. You know. She didn't live long enough to see the personal computers and the internet or anything else like that. But she did live long enough to see a man walk on the moon. You know, that's kind of an interesting thing. Here's somebody who lived long enough to see a man walk on the moon. You know, she was born 4 years before Alexander Bell invented the telephone. When the telephone was invented, she was 4 years old. Yeah, I think about all the things that happened in her life. I'm just thinking about the timeline of her life. You know, when the Titanic sunk in 1912, she was 40 years old. She was a middle-aged woman when the Titanic sank. She was in her late 60s when World War II started. And she was in her 70s when the war ended. It's like, wow. And I think about that, you know, how we can look back at the past and say, well, you know, people from a long time ago were dumb and they were inferior because they were like from the Bronze Age and they were sheep herders and, you know, people thousands of years ago. But we don't realize that if it wasn't for all those people, you know, taking us up to this generation, we would not be here. You know, we have a lot of leftover things from the past, and things change. People's thinking changes, people's attitudes change. You know, here in the United States, but not in all parts of the world. You know, slavery is over. There are parts of the world where it may not be official, no actual government officially has slavery, but there's some forms of it in the world. But things are changing. Attitudes change, and they are constantly changing. They have been changing for a long time. It just didn't suddenly start yesterday. Things take time to change, but change do happen. You know, I was thinking when I was talking about my Aunt Lena, I just refer to her as Aunt Lena because that's what we called her. You know, her parents, because she was, I'm assuming that since my father's from the South, from Alabama. And although when we went to pick her up, because she was living in Pennsylvania at the time, we actually drove like her here to Chicago. The thing is that more than likely, although I never asked her, but more than likely her parents were probably slaves. They were probably born in slavery. And it's just interesting to think that how, you know, times change. Thinking change, beliefs change. What people will believe, what we will even think. What people will think. When I say we, and it might not even be we, me personally, I'd be long gone, you know, 200 or 300 years from now. But what people will think and believe will be so different. That the things that we believe today, that we take as just natural facts and facts of reality, people might look back at that and say, wow, those people back in the, in the late 20th century and early, 21st century, they used to believe that? Wow, that's interesting. the only thing I think about it, I just think when people criticize things all the time, they criticize beliefs and stuff. Beliefs, a lot of the old traditions are old. Yeah, a lot of stuff is outdated. But people do change. People change. Thinking change. But you know what? We have to look at that carefully. We have to look at that, look at the process. And if we want to be a part of a positive thing, let's look at how changes happen and how we can be positive contributors to that change. That's all I'm saying. How can we be effective at helping the world to move in a more positive direction, a better direction? Because we have been moving in a better direction. You know, I think about that. It's just a thought on my mind.